Action items, presentation of outstanding invoices. May I have a motion to approve those?
I would make a motion to approve, I would like to make a motion to approve the invoices. There's actually two of them, one in the amount of $1,080,108.23.
And the date on that, Mr. Kozel?
And the date on that one is as of January 28th, 2016. And then the January 14th of 2016 is $2,559,797.75.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mrs. Glatz?
Aye.
Mr. Lulo?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari?
Aye. Personnel report, Dr. Tingley.
Personnel report found at your places this evening. Under employment, Kimberly Barnes, 2/5 English instructor, Central High School. Kim has served as a longtime assignment substitute as well as an on-call sub for the district for several years. She's a graduate of East, attended Northern Illinois, received her Master's of Ed from the University of St. Francis. And Renee Matthews, 4/5 Special Services instructor, East High School. Renee is also a former graduate of Lincoln Way East. She received her bachelor's from Eastern, completed her student teaching at Wilson Creek Elementary in Manhattan and Manhattan Junior High School. I ask that you accept both appointments as presented.
Motion, please. So moved. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Glatz?
Aye.
Mr. Lulo?
Aye.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari?
Aye.
Under resignations, Britt Christensen, assistant softball coach, North High School, resigning this position effective immediately. William Kolb, mechanic, transportation department, resigning this position effective December 31st, 2015. Peter Cashman, bus driver, transportation department, resigning this position effective January 1st, 2016. Lisa Profit, instructional technology instructor, East High School, resigning this position effective at the end of the 15-16 school year. Stephen Tauch, bus driver, transportation, resigning this position effective January 19th, 2016. And Jennifer Gatz, mathematics instructor, East High School, resigning this position effective at the end of the 15-16 school year. I ask that you accept the resignations as presented.
I have a motion to approve these resignations as presented.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Under retirements, Deborah Williams, registrar, Central High School, requesting retirement under IMRF retirement system effective June 28, 2019. Louis Biscetti, paraprofessional, North High School, requesting to retire under the IMRF retirement system effective June 30th, 2017. Carol Vogler, cafeteria employee, East, requesting to retire under IMRF effective June 30th, 2017. Rabina Brocious, science instructor, Central High School, requesting to retire under board option A effective at the end of the 1920 school year. Susan Schneider, PE instructor, Central, requesting to retire under board option A at the end of the 2019-2020 school year. And Arlene Pauskas, bus driver, transportation, requesting to retire under IMRF retirement system effective at the end of the 15-16 school year. I ask that you accept these retirements as presented.
Do I have a motion to approve the retirements as presented? So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please, Sue.
Mrs. Glatz?
Aye.
Mr. Lulo?
Aye.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari?
Aye.
Under other business, Elizabeth Hunsaker, parapro at East, successfully completed her 90-day probationary period and is recommended for full-time status. Catherine Fairbairn, paraprofessional at Central, successfully completed her 90-day probationary period and also recommended for full status employment. Joshua Kozba, security, East High School, successfully completed his 90-day probationary period and is recommended for full status employment. And Stephen Ellis Painter, North High School, requesting approval of an IMRF benefit protection leave covering the period of 7/2/15 through 1/20, January 20th of 2016. I ask that you accept the other business as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a roll call. Any discussion? Scott, Dr. Tingley, could you explain a little more with the IMRF benefit protection leave?
Yeah, covering the period. Ron, I'll let you take that one as you handled our IMRF.
What is that all about?
Basically, it works for individuals that might have missed an extended period of time due to illness or injury of some sort, which obviously we cannot go into those details, but it allows them to continue, because of the circumstances, their IMRF service. We have to just verify that they were in service prior to and following their leave time.
So there's a continuance and not a gap in
Gotcha.
return.
Okay. Roll call, please, Sue.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mrs. Glatz?
Aye.
Mr. Lulo?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari?
Aye. Approval of the treasurer's report for December 2015.
Yes, thank you. Both the traditional and the expanded treasurer's reports were in your backup material. Also set an additional hard copy of the expanded report at your place this evening. As we discussed at the board meeting in December, I've adjusted the format of the expanded report to try and give you a bit more information on each of the funds. A couple of things to highlight coming through. The monthly revenues fell below the monthly or the budgeted amount and the amounts received in each of the previous 2 years, which isn't a complete surprise because it's important to remember that the bulk of our revenues come from property taxes, which are received in the fall and late spring. So this is the time when we're not getting many distributions. We're at a point where we've received about 48.3% of our budgeted revenue through December 31st, and that compares favorably when you consider in fiscal year 2015, we were at 47.2% and 47.63% in fiscal year 2014. I will caution you that when you look at the overall expenditures, it's a little bit skewed because we had to make our bond payment in December because of the unique timing. Normally, we can make the bond payment on January 2nd, but this year with January 1st falling on a Friday, we had to get the payments made in December to get them posted in time. So all of those payments occurred in December. So it's just an early posting of the payments. Individually, as we look at some of the funds, in the education fund, we did receive some of our categorical funds, the state funds. Those were primarily for special ed payments. We also received some of our categorical funds from the federal side through the IDEA grant. In the building fund, we had E-rate payments that surfaced this month. E-rate payments we typically get twice a year. As a reminder, E-rate is a federal reimbursement program for expenditures on any telecommunications expenses. So for us, it's a 40% rebate on what we spend for our internet access. In years past, when we had traditional phone service, that would be included, but they're actually phasing that out of the E-rate program anyway. So the fact that we now use voice over internet protocol doesn't hurt us in any way, shape, or form. We're still seeing some modest contributions from developers, so that's always a good sign for the district. In the transportation fund, probably the highlight in the revenue side there is we did receive our state categorical payment, our first state categorical payment for transportation expenses. That concludes my treasurer's report, and I entertain any questions that you might have on this portion of it.
Any questions? We have a motion to approve the treasurer's report for December 2015, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please, Sue.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mrs. Glatz?
Aye.
Mr. Lulo?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari?
Aye.
Mailed to you a couple of days ago, a hard copy was at your places this evening, was the actual versus budgeted expenditures through December 31st. This will also serve as our mid-year financial update, which, as you know, is one of our board goals. A couple of highlights to point out. I realize the report is lengthy because of all of the different line item accounts we have, but at the end of each fund, you'll see on the green lines right above the revenues are, and then right above the brown lines, which separates the funds, lets you see where the expenditures are and the balance in the account as a whole. Again, a little bit distorted because of the bond payments. If you look at the fund totals, that's why I would encourage you, as you have a chance to look at the individual funds. That's where you get a good feel for things. What you will find is that in all of our operating funds, our revenues are running right around just a little bit less than 50% of budgeted amounts. That's actually normal because since we are primarily a property tax-driven revenue stream, our higher property taxes from a dollar amount standpoint actually come in the spring distribution as you get the CPI increases and the benefit of new property. Our expenses are right around 50% of budgeted amounts, so we're in a good spot in that regard, okay? I do have to say, this is kind of a good news, bad news situation. The good news is, from our budget to actual, our actual expenses are right on track with our budget, okay? So we're projecting well as a district, even with the uncertain times regarding state funding. The bad news is we have to remember that that budget is still with a $5.5 million deficit. So being on track is still not, we're still not in a good situation, but we're maintaining the information that we presented earlier. So that concludes my budget versus actual and the mid-year financial update.
Ron, thank you. This is a long time coming, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Approval of the student activities report for December 2015.
Yes, the student activity summary report was in your backup packet. Expenditures for the month outpaced revenues by approximately $10,000. So in essence, it's pretty much money in, money out type of situation, which is pretty commonplace for the student activities at this time of year because you have fundraising occurring for the activities that haven't started yet, namely the spring activities in sports, and you have the expenditures going out for the winter activities. So they pace each other pretty well. I would report that if we compare this year to last year, in terms of expenditures from the student activity side, we actually spent $65,000 less in the student activity accounts this December than in December of 2014. That concludes my student activity report.
We have a motion to approve the student activity report for December 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please, Sue.
Mr. Lulo?
Aye.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mrs. Glatz?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari?
Aye. School year calendar.
It's that time of year when we bring forward the 16-17 school calendar for approval. Some changes from the past, well, some similarities, some changes. We'll begin with an Institute Day on the 16th of August. Bring the teachers in. That brings the students then at the start of a half week. Holidays, Thanksgiving stays the same. When we get to winter break, we would like to propose the final exams on the 20th, 21st, 22nd. We would have an Institute Day on the 23rd. That is a Friday. That's something new. That would give our teachers an opportunity. We will have building meetings, but also give them an opportunity to finish their grading, submit their grades, if they so choose, but an Insta-Day prior to the holiday. Also allows for 2 full weeks of winter break with the 3 weekends around, which I think the families will appreciate. This will also be consistent with our feeder districts in terms of having the 2 full weeks of break. One significant change. Last week of March, proposed spring break for the last week of March. I discussed this with the feeder districts as well. Dr. Ferry went up to the CADChem meeting, ACT, SAT, whichever direction the state's going, a couple weeks ago. The month of April is the window for PARC. The month of April is also going to be the testing window for SAT, and also we test heavy for our AP courses. If you're taking out a week in the middle of April for PARC test, and there's also an additional science state test, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Riley, so it would become very difficult for us to take a week off in the middle of April. The feeder districts have agreed with us, so we would propose a change to March. April 14th would be a non-student attendance day, non-attendance day, and then we would finish up with finals in 23rd, 24th, 25th of May, weather permitting.
When is Easter?
Easter would be the 16th of April.
That's a big change.
16th.
Before we have discussion, can we have a motion to approve the school calendar for 2016, 2017?
So moved.
Second? Second. Now we can have discussion. Thank you. So Easter is in 2017? Easter's when?
The 16th, April 16th.
April 16th.
Correct.
Okay. So we were going to have our spring break the last week of March.
Correct.
Okay. And this coincides, as you said, with the feeder schools?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And that is
Which is
the
the most
general-
important thing for me anyway.
Yes, and the general practice of many districts in the state now have gone to that last week, primarily because of the testing windows in the testing. You may recall in the past, even during PSAE times, there were a time or two where we took an alternate PSAE. Moving into the ACT for the first time, I would not want our students to be taking an alternate test. I'd rather for consistency's sake, they take the same test as everyone else in the state. And grade schools were also concerned about the timing of their park window, and therefore the notion to go ahead and move.
Okay, we have a motion with a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Out-of-state travel, Dr. Ting.
We have quite a few out-of-state travels. First is Lincoln Way East Girls Track and Field. Cost of the students would be $78. They'll be going to the University of Kentucky for a large invitation. We have had quite a bit of success. This gives the student athletes the opportunity to perform in some of the best competition in the country and in front of collegiate coaches. We have West Jazz Band to Western Michigan. Western Michigan University Invitational Jazz Festival. Another great opportunity for our students to perform for world-class clinicians. No cost to the district. The students will be paying for their overnight hotel stay. Lincoln Way Central Junior ROTC Drill Team, March 11th and 12th. They go to Dayton, Ohio. This is an annual event. They go to a large drill competition. Drill teams from all over the country go to compete. Lincoln Way Central Winter Guard in Indianapolis, Indiana. Cost of the students included in their fees. No cost to the district. Transportation will be a bus. And once again, this will be a competition in Indianapolis, which is a regional. And then the Winter Guard would go to St. Louis, Missouri, March 5th and 6th. Once again, not miss any school. No cost to the district included in the students' fees. Another competition just outside the state. Lincoln Way Central Winter Guard, and then April 2nd and 3rd, Newport, Indiana. The championship for the Midwest Color Guard. That's the big one. Once again, it's included in the students' fees and no cost to the district. I would ask that you approve all of the out-of-state travel as presented, pending principals getting the proper paperwork.
We have a motion to approve the out-of-state travel.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Dr. Tingley, I have one question on the first travel request for the girls' track and field. Their mode of transportation is stated as driving, and
Driving.
transportation is paid by students. Are they taking their own cars versus a bus, a school bus?
They're going to, on this one, cost the student $78. I will need to get clarification. I believe we will be taking the white vans, but they will pay out of their account. We will not provide transportation that far. But we will need clarification on that one, because I see here it says driving, but once again, cost the student $78. They also have within their student activity account funds to pay for transportation, so there will be no cost to the district for travel.
Is there any additional insurance risk for us?
As long as they're taking a white bus, no. So they'll be taking school transportation, but it will be pay for out of their student
Okay.
activity account.
Okay.
Yeah, the district would not pay for the travel. Similar to last year, we had baseball teams travel to Louisville, Kentucky. Same type of scenario. The activity accounts paid for charter buses, which were covered and
Okay.
utilized.
All right.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. Resolution to intervene.
Mr. Solomon, go ahead.
Mr. Song.
Yes, the copy of the resolution was in your backup material. As you may recall, every year the board formally authorizes either Dr. Tingley or myself to intervene on the district's behalf for any property tax appeal cases that are being heard at the county level. Occasionally, those do not get resolved at the county level and they move to the Property Tax Appeals Board. Once they get to that board level, the only individuals that can intervene are attorneys, registered attorneys. So what we're requesting and what we're asking for is a motion tonight for the board to approve the law firm of Hauser Izzo to be our legal representative for any potential PTAB or Property Tax Appeal Board cases. There is one pending now. Typically, there might be one every 2 or 3 years that actually get to PTAB. That's why we don't do this on an annual basis. We try to do it only on an as-necessary basis.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing intervention and property tax assessment proceedings. So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those, let's do a roll call, so please.
Mrs. Glatz?
Aye.
Mr. Lulo?
Aye.
Mr. Kozel?
Aye.
Mrs. Molinari?
Aye. Mr. Lulo, you attended the District 843 Governing Board meeting on December 15th?
I did, and it was pretty much business as usual through half the year, pretty much on budget. Nothing earth-shattering, business as usual. That's about it at 8:43 for right now.
Thank you. FOIA requests.
Yes, the FOIA report was at your places this evening. When you have an opportunity, that report is since the December board meeting, so please review that at your convenience. If you have any questions or concerns or would like additional clarification, please just let us know. Be happy to take care of that for you.
Thank you. Closed sessions dated July 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2015. I need to appoint a committee for the disposition of those minutes. Christopher, Mr. Kozel, and Mr. Lulo, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you. Legislative report.
Well, there's really not a lot of action happening down in the legislature. I did have an opportunity last week to attend a meeting of Illinois Association of School Business Officials Delegate Advisories, and we did get a report from some constituents down in Springfield. Right now, the state is operating on a situation, since they don't have a budget, where they're really just mimicking the budget from fiscal year 2015 to pay bills. The concern that we all need to be aware of is that the state has $4 billion less revenue in this current fiscal year because of the sunsetting of that temporary income tax increase. Those funds aren't available for this fiscal year. So we're going to be monitoring things closely. I would remind you that it was in the end of March last year when the state contacted all of the schools and decided to do an additional proration of general state aid. So we'll be monitoring that closely, and as soon as we have any information, we'll share that with the board. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Dr. Cohen, District 210 Advisory Committee report.
Good evening. Since the school board has last met, we did not, as a committee, meet in the month of January. We really don't have any new business that we're taking care of right now. We will meet in February, however, to start discussing handbook changes and policy changes relevant to just our standard sort of updates that we normally do, but also Senate Bill 100. Since we've last met, though, I did forward you the information that the District 210 Advisory Committee used in considering its recommendation to drop class rank effective with the classes of 2017 and beyond. Just some highlights from that, just in the state of Illinois, University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, Illinois State, Eastern, Southern, and several other state universities no longer use class rank as an admission criterion. The only school that really publicly in the state of Illinois acknowledges the use of class rank in its admissions is Northern Illinois University. And it is worth noting that if you were in the top half of your class in high school, all that is required is an ACT of a 19. If you are not in the top half of your class, and if you're in that third quartile, you must have a 23 ACT in order to be admitted to Northern Illinois. In order to be in the top half of your class at any one of our high schools in any given year, you have to have a GPA right between a 3.3, 3.4, depending on the graduating year. You can have a B average and a 21 on your ACT and not get into Northern Illinois University because of the caliber of the students that we have at Lincoln Way. We do still believe it is the way to go. The drop in class rank will actually benefit our students in terms of their college admissions, and we have not been able to find a university from even the most selective ones like Harvard or Northwestern, schools that our kids aspire to attend. We have not found a university where a drop in class rank would hurt them in any way.
Thank you, Dr. Cohen. Asset of the month.
Asset of the month for February 2016, social competencies, cultural competence. The young person has knowledge and comfort with people of different cultural, racial, and ethnic backgrounds at home. Create a family environment that encourages positive discussions about difference. At school, model acceptance and appreciation of differences. Don't tolerate racism, bias, or prejudice. And in the community, articulate clear community expectations that honor diversity. That's the asset of the month for February.
Transition update. Mrs. Harrison.
Good evening. Since returning from spring break, the staff and the students have been working hard on a number of activities in preparation for our students to transition to a new school. This last week, the students began by developing a list of questions that they had about moving to a different school. And for the students in our LIFE program, they had some really good questions, and we wanted to make sure we were answering them. So prior to them coming over for their scheduled visit, the questions were sent to the other school, to the next school, so that they could prep for the visit. In addition, each student made a personal statement flag that was going to provide some information about themselves to the other school. This week was the travel week. On Tuesday, the students from Lincoln Way North headed over to Lincoln Way East. The students from Lincoln Way Central headed over to Lincoln Way West. And today, the students from Lincoln Way East traveled to Lincoln Way Central. And as you heard the student council young lady speak from Central, they happen to have a disc jockey in their cafeteria today. We did have to convince the students that this isn't an everyday occurrence, because they thought that was pretty cool that they walked in to see the disc jockey in the cafeteria. But during this time, in student-led discussions, they had their questions answered. They were able to present the information about themselves and take a tour of the buildings. These activities will continue over the next couple months, and fortunately what we saw today was a lot of our students are familiar with each other due to their activities with special rec and those kinds of things. So it was an exciting time for them to see their friends, and overall I would say it was a pretty positive experience for them. As far as our other students, we will continue to work with our social work staff and continue to address any of their concerns or questions as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Building and grounds. Mr. Slum.
Yes, the utilities and contractual maintenance report for the first half of the year was at your places this evening. For the entire year, our savings to date for the same 6-month period from last year has been $451,000. When we look at the month of December alone, we had actually reduced expenditures by, doing some quick math in my head, $139,000. And while we'd like to take credit for it, we really have to give a shout out to Mother Nature and the relatively mild weather we've had. For electricity expenses for the month of December, they were $32,000 lower than December of last year. Natural gas for the district was $60,000 lower. That's a 60% decrease in what we paid last year. And again, that is primarily due to just moderate temperatures. So as long as she wants to work with us that way, we'll be happy. You heard all of the student council presidents talking about, either twerp or Winterfest or the activities coming up. So our maintenance and ground staff is working with the building administrations and the student council directors and the students to make sure they've got all of the facilities ready for that. A little known aspect is one of the things that we have to do to be able to do that is we have to make some electrical reconfigurations to accommodate all of the equipment that the DJs like to bring. So they do a great job putting that together. The student council does a great job of planning it and getting the requirements communicated. So we're looking forward to helping them have another successful twerp and or Winterfest. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Goal number 1, objective C2, Dr. Barrett.
Board goal number 1, C2, is to support and monitor instruction that supports the Common Core English Language Arts literacy shifts in all content areas. As you can see on the document in your packet, last year we provided professional development on the 6 literacy shifts through Lunch and Learns at each school. Sessions focused on how to embed and support these reading and writing concepts across the curriculum, whether it was reading more informational text, increasing the complexity of what students were reading, or even adding more writing with text-based sources. So for this school year, teachers are doing an awesome job embracing these ideas and increasing literacy practice across the curriculum in many ways. As you can see on the document in your packet, 2 great examples of what teachers are doing that implement these shifts and prepare students for this kind of reading, writing, and thinking. On the back side of the sheet, you will see 3 examples on how students will ultimately be assessed on these literacy concepts. First is the PARCC exam, which our freshman students will be taking this April. The second is on the ACT and, of course, the ACT writing, where students will be asked to write a document-based essay. And last will be the SAT, which has been chosen by the state of Illinois as our free college entrance exam for next year. Through the great job our teachers are doing with these literacy shifts in our classrooms across the curriculum, our students will be very well prepared for any of these assessments in their future, and of course, more importantly, become even better readers, writers, and thinkers. Thank you.
Thank you. Goal number 4, objective B2A. Mr. Murphy.
Good evening. Goal number 4 is to develop technological solutions that address the needs of our school district. So today I'm going to talk specifically about our Course Learning Center, which is a module that is in our Skyward software. Our Course Learning Center was actually implemented in November, in the middle of November. Was the first time that we were able to do anything with that. And at that point in time, we were able to present our Course Learning Center to approximately 30 teachers. With that, we currently have about 7 or 8 teachers that have a site that is up and running and they're actually using it in the classroom. Throughout the second semester, our instructional technologists are going to conduct a number of sessions that will help to engage more interest in the Course Learning Center, to engage more teachers that will be using this throughout the upcoming years. In your backup material, I also gave you a list of dates in which each of the instructional techs will be conducting those training sessions. Most of them will occur in February and in March. We will also conduct a more hands-on training in June to help teachers better prepare for the upcoming school year. Another feature that is new to our teachers in Skyward is that of a message center. And the message center is something that allows our teachers to send emails directly to our families, students that they have in their classes. During our first semester, our teachers sent out over 4,200 messages. So that equates to about 150,000 emails that were sent out. Just informing parents of things that were coming up in their classrooms, giving some information about quizzes and tests and homework assignments along those lines. When both the Course Learning Center and the Message Center are combined, it makes for a very powerful tool that really just enhances the communication from our teachers to our parents and our students. We look forward to seeing what our teachers are going to be able to do with this as the years come on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. March ACT.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
We have a big decision to make, and there's strong options on both sides. Because the state no longer is funding an ACT for us this year, we called downstate, a lot of schools did, and said, can we have a state-sponsored ACT and only pay for the students who want to take it, or the students that we know are college-bound, are 80% of the kids? And what the ACT has done statewide is it's all or nothing. You either pay for every student at $56.50, every junior to take the test, or you get nobody. Now, we do 2 or 3 in-house ACTs each year that aren't scored. I mean, we score them, but they aren't scored. They can't be used for colleges. And there is something very valuable about having every student take it, because we have kids that take it, the only one they take, and it's about 40% of our kids, the only one they take is the free one during school hours. They don't take it on a Saturday. Several of those kids, probably many of those kids every year, score a 22, a 24, and they didn't know they had it in them. It makes them think a little bit more about college, may change the whole direction of their life. But again, what we're talking about here is 1,700 juniors at $56.50. And so it's a significant investment. And again, that's my position. This is an investment in kids, but it is a large chunk of money to do it. It is the last year that we'll have ACT. The state says next year, it'll be an SAT, which is a little cheaper, but there's no guarantee that they'll pay for that anyway. So it's completely based on budget and things being frozen, and they just said you can choose to jump in or not. I gave you some information. ACT for All has been fantastic for us since 2001. We mention it consistently, but of all the high schools in the state, of all the high school districts, we have the highest gains in reading, the highest gains in science. Our writing is in the top 10, and math is also very significantly strong. So it's been great for us. It's never hurt us to do it, but there hasn't been a price tag attached to it. And so that's the issue. So if you would have asked me 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have said I would bet that 80% of our kids took more than one ACT. But when we ran the numbers, and 40% of them only take that one that we give them, it's a significant number of kids that may not venture into that world. So
When will we know about the SAT and the state?
we know it is the state-sponsored test next year, but if it's like this year, it'll be next January when they tell us yes or no. So that's why you're really hearing about it now. So.
And we don't need approval this evening. We wanted to bring it for discussion. If the board would elect to pay for it, we would need to do that. We need to have approval in early February for us to meet that deadline for the March testing date.
Yeah, we have a February 15th date from the state that we're either in or we're out.
Is that in the budget?
What's the total?
Unlike Mr. Sowin, I did it on my calculator, about 95,000. Looks like that sound about right?
Yep, 95, 96,000.
I mean, we have some discussion here.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, I realize at times there's things that aren't in the budget and we have to incur those. I mean, this to me seems like very significant, and especially when 40% are just taking it once. If they miss that opportunity, there might be kids that decide that maybe college isn't for them because they didn't have that opportunity. Do we have a ballpark roughly where we are with attorney's fees, roughly with our current lawsuit that was budgeted for?
Attorney's fees, just we're in the beginning stages. Obviously, we spent, the district incurred over $6,000 the first 3 days. So it'll be significant by the time we're finished.
Any further discussion on the ACT?
I just think back to when this program was started and hearing the success stories like Tim talked about of the students that took the test and maybe didn't think that they were college bound and scored very, very well, and to give that morale boost and then to be able to have them go ahead and apply. I think if we can find it, I mean, once again, I know we're cutting everywhere we can, but it'd be nice to be able to find this and squeeze it into our existing budget without going over. And, that's obviously some numbers you guys are going to have to crunch on that side, but if we could do it, I think it's a worthwhile venture, but we have to keep our eye on the bottom line.
The feedback from the students, there's a home court advantage.
Yeah.
Students taking the test in their school during the day, familiar teachers. I think that does help.
Scott, without embarrassing anyone, would there be a way to see if there was families that were indigent, mom's not working, dad's not working, if they, if they could afford to pay for it, but if they truly can't, maybe we just assist those that want to take it but don't have the means to take it?
Yes, Tim's got it.
There are waivers available for students that are on the free and reduced lunch. Kids could certainly come in and sign up quietly through our PPS office and just let us know that they needed that. Again, so it would be the opportunity. The real issue is, do we want to offer it to every student on a day that's the most advantage they'll ever have? Because, if you can't get every kid into Lincoln Way East on a national testing day. Kids have to go to Joliet Junior College up toward Bremen. It's a different atmosphere. And the other piece is that we gear our instruction for that finish date. The teachers are taking class time to coach their juniors to hit that March 15th, and then it's not there. And so I think we lose some advantage there as well. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, we can identify those kids. We really know who they are through Ron's work, and we can make some things available for them.
Thank you.
I just think we need to vote for the final vote, but we're in the business of educating kids, and this has proven to be a good product for our kids. That's my opinion.
I would like to add one more thing, that I can vouch on two different accounts on children with test anxiety. Having it done in a classroom, a smaller setting with familiar teachers speaks enormous to the performance that children can perform on a test. And I would like that to be taken into consideration for the students. And also, the surprise that the kids do have whenever they take that test and you get that report home. I was shocked because I thought there was a mix-up, that it could not have been my child, but it was my child, and that was thrilling. But I think that home court advantage has a lot for the kids, and we need to figure out how to do this.
When's the deadline, Scott, or when do we need to do?
We would need to make a decision at our early February board meeting.
Real quick, I know we had, over the last couple of years, at graduation time, we always talk about the perfect scores. How many, on average, it's what, 2, 1, 2, 3?
We get a couple each year.
Yeah.
We get a couple each year.
Foundation report. Mrs. Lopez.
Good evening. On the alumni side of things, our alumni classes are starting to prepare for their fall reunions. The class of 1964 is planning a September Alaskan cruise to celebrate Lincoln Way alumni who will turn 70 in 2016. Members of the class of 1966 are planning their 50-year reunion for the weekend of September 10th. On the foundation side, the foundation has wrapped up 2015, and we are pleased to report that donations through our partner program came in at $93,500. This is the best result for the partner program since 2009. There are currently 44 partners of the Lincoln Way Foundation. Partners give annual gifts beginning at $1,500 a year. Our first 2016 campaign is our annual Foundation Board Appeal. Once again, our Foundation Board directors responded with 100% participation. We are currently focusing on our February 13th dinner gala. For the second year, our silent auction will be available online. Look for that to launch on February 5th. Thanks to the generosity of our community, this year's auction is once again outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent's district report.
If I could refer you to your right of Lincoln Way sheet at your places this evening. Lincoln Way East and Central Pep Bands will play at the IHSA basketball finals. So Lincoln Way Central and Lincoln Way East Pep Bands were being selected to perform this year during the state finals basketball tournament. Central was selected to play during the boys tournament, and East was selected to play during the girls. Clean sweep at the Illinois Math and Science Academy Bridge Contest for Lincoln Way students. Ryan Belovich from Lincoln Way North took 4th. Nathan Gra, also from North, took 2nd. Sarah Swanberg from Central took 3rd. And Kristen Farracuti from Lincoln Way East took 1st. So it's quite impressive that we were able to sweep that competition. Lincoln Way West student named All-American. Congratulations to West football player Brian Brokop, who was named first team All-American by Max Prep Sports. He's headed to play football at the University of Nebraska next year. And And congratulations to the Lincoln Way Future Business Leaders of America students who traveled to Illinois Math and Science Academy competition in Aurora. There were a number of them that had done quite well. And then the Lincoln Way East and North girls basketball teams, congratulations as they played one another at the United Center. According to head coach Jim Nair, although the game was very exciting, the biggest cheer of the day was after the game when both teams took their picture together. There's a picture of the young ladies on the Bulls logo, so that was a big day for them. I want to conclude my report. I have a couple slides to share with some information that was gathered from 2015-16 report cards, and you look at, as we move through this process, there's a lot of emotion, and I understand that. There's some anger, some resentment. People are sad. It's not only the parents. It's the boards, administrators, and teachers. We know that. But as we move through the emotions, we have to go back. At no time have we met our projected enrollment. At no time have we been anywhere near capacity. We have not had enough students to operate 4 comprehensive high schools at a way we can sustainably. We run deficits every single year. As we look at the next slide, compares districts similar to ours. We've got Lincoln Way, we have District 230, our neighbors to the north, Joliet, Thornton, Downers Grove, and then we have District 218, which is Richards, Shepherd, and Eisenhower. Multiple high school districts, geographically similar. Similar numbers of students. We did an average number of students. But what's important is we look at the operating funds per student. So what does each school spend to educate that student?
You don't know that.
Lincoln Way is at 13.2, District 230 is at 15, Joliet 14, Thornton 19,000 per student, Downers at 16.3, Shepherd Eisenhower at 18. These are off of our AFRs. In terms of revenue per district and how many high schools that's able to maintain. In terms of millions, you can see 82 million Lincoln. This does not count bond and interest. District 230 at 118 for 3. Joliet, Thornton, Downers at 79, and then District 218 at 90. When we look at revenue per school, this is a significant factor. This is how much money is coming in. Now, we spend more than $20 million per school when you divide it out. We've been deficit spending. But when you compare that $20 million per school with those other districts, you can see that the available resources are simply not there. So as we move through this, we need to, it's my job to continue to address the issues. And the issue is, we're at 7,000 students. We're not at 8, we're not at 9, we're not at 10. While we have some wealth in our district, comparably, we're not a wealthy district. We do a good job. We have a fantastic. Once again, when you compare ourselves to districts in our area, we simply aren't. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Tingley. I will ask that you maintain decorum. It's a meeting of the business of the public body. Thank you.
You work
We are
for
now
us.
to correspondence. We have no correspondence to my knowledge. We are going into closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of employees. We are going into closed session for collective negotiating, appointment of a member to fill a vacancy of any public body, purchase or lease of real estate, establish sale or lease price of real estate, emergency security, student disciplinary cases, and litigation. Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.